And famous Mojo Potatoes since 1954, and serving up a high drive to left center field and gone. Shohei Ohtani with an opposite field home run.
All the people roasting Shohei Ohtani this past week for his so-called slow start can officially sit down. Sunday night at Dodger Stadium, the man went absolutely off, dropped a 3-hit night against the Cubs, took his fellow countrymen deep, and reminded everyone in baseball why he is the best player on the planet. The haters never learn, do they? What's your reaction watching Ohtani snap out of his slump and feast on Shota Imanaga in front of the Dodger Stadium crowd? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below before we get into it.
So Ohtani ends his longest homerless drought since putting on a Dodger uniform and makes this a 6-0 game with his 6th home run of the year.
So here's how Sunday night went down at Dodger Stadium. And honestly, it could not have been written any better if a Hollywood producer had scripted it themselves. Shohei Ohtani walked into a matchup against the Chicago Cubs, the same team whose manager spent the entire previous week complaining about how unfair it is that the Dodgers get to use him, and he decided to remind everyone exactly why people keep talking about him in the first place. 3 at-bats, 3 hits, 1 home run, 1 stolen base, 1 RBI driven in. The Dodgers won 6-0. Cubs fans went home miserable. Mission accomplished.
Here, this is the arm angle. There's the front side. That front shoulder still staying closed, and he's able to bring the barrel head down. That's when Ohtani is swinging his best, when he's able to drive it the other way, that way with authority. And he knows it. Squares that ball, and he knows it's out.
Let's start with the at-bats themselves, because that's the whole story. Ohtani came up batting leadoff as the designated hitter, which has been his usual spot all season long. In the 5th inning, he ripped a double off Cubs starter Shota Imanaga. That alone was a moment, because we'll get to the Japanese versus Japanese storyline in a minute. Then, in the 7th inning, with the crowd already starting to feel something special, Ohtani got hold of a pitch and sent it flying for a solo home run. His 6th of the year, his first in 60 at-bats. 60. That's the number that had every baseball analyst in the country writing think pieces about whether something was wrong with him. For weeks, sports talk radio in Los Angeles had been treating Ohtani's lack of power like a national emergency. Twitter was filled with hot takes about how the highest-paid player in baseball history had peaked. Rival fans were posting screenshots of his stat line and laughing. Articles on Yahoo Sports and Dodger Blue had been pointing out that he hadn't really hit his stride yet.
With Shohei, has this been just like the last 5 games? Like, has it just been kind of weird for you, given what he's done the last few years, to see him even go through, like, for a week, a kind of slump like this?
Yes. You don't hear the word slump correlated with Shohei on the hitting side ever. So it is certainly unique. But yeah, he's working, and it'll balance itself out. But yeah, he's going through it right now.
Even Dave Roberts had said publicly that Ohtani wasn't comfortable with his swing. The whole conversation had turned into a slow drumbeat of doubt, and Ohtani let it all build up until Sunday night, when he just decided enough was enough and started spraying baseballs all over Dodger Stadium. The home run came on a swing that looked like the old Ohtani everyone remembers. The ball jumped off the bat. The crowd lost its mind. The Cubs dugout looked like someone had personally insulted their families. And just like that, 60 at-bats of 0 homers became one of those forgotten footnotes that nobody is ever going to bring up again. Funny how quickly the narrative shifts in baseball. One swing, and suddenly everyone forgets they ever doubted him in the first place. Now let's talk about Shota Imanaga, because this matchup deserves its own conversation. Imanaga is the Cubs' starting pitcher, and he is also Japanese, just like Ohtani. So when these two faced off, it was basically a national event back home in Japan. The Mainichi covered the game from a Tokyo angle, and you can imagine how the broadcast looked over there. 2 of Japan's biggest baseball exports going head-to-head on American soil. And Imanaga, who has actually been a very solid pitcher for Chicago, just could not get Ohtani out. At all. Twice. Ohtani went 2 for 2 against him with a double and a hit. Imanaga ended up taking the loss after going 5 1/3 innings, giving up 5 runs on 6 hits and dropping his record to 2 wins and 2 losses on the season. That right there is the kind of detail that makes this game so painful for the Cubs. Imanaga was supposed to be the answer to all those problems Craig Counsell was complaining about earlier in the week. Remember, Counsell had spent that whole press conference whining about how the Dodgers get to use Ohtani as a two-way player and pointing to Imanaga as proof that the Cubs technically have access to the same rule. Then, the actual matchup happened, and Imanaga got cooked. By Ohtani specifically. The universe has a sense of humor, you have to admit. Tweets started flying immediately after the game. Dodgers fans were posting clips of the home run with captions about how Ohtani heard the haters and finally decided to show up. Cubs fans were quiet, which is usually a sign that something has gone very wrong. Sports writers at outlets like Fox Sports and MLB.com were already drafting their Ohtani is back articles before the final out had even been recorded. The internet does not waste time when Ohtani turns a corner. The narrative reset happens in real time.
Let's get into the actual numbers, because this is where things get really fun. Ohtani finished the game 3 for 3, which was his first 3-hit game of the entire season. The first 3-hit game. That's how this season has gone for him at the plate. He had been getting on base, sure, drawing walks, finding ways to extend that 53-game on-base streak that ended just days before, but getting actual hits in bunches had been the problem. Sunday changed all of that. He hit, he scored, he drove in a run, and he stole a base just to remind people that his legs still work too. Speaking of his legs, do not forget that this is the same man who had a 50-50 season back in 2024. 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in a single year. Nobody had ever done that before in baseball history. So when people started questioning whether he could still hit homers in 2026, it was always a little bit silly. The bat was going to come around eventually. Ohtani himself basically said as much after Sunday's game. He said he had been feeling better little by little since the day before, and he just wanted to keep getting better and push through. That is Ohtani in a nutshell. No drama, no excuses, just slow, steady improvement until the moment everything clicks and he ends your weekend with a 3-hit performance. Here is the kicker for everybody who is writing him off. While he has been having this so-called slow start at the plate, he has also been the best pitcher in baseball. Nobody really wants to acknowledge that part. Through 4 pitching starts this season, Shohei Ohtani is 2 wins and 0 losses with a 0.38 ERA over 24 innings pitched. 0.38. That is not a typo. That is one of the lowest earned run averages of any starter in the entire league. So while everybody was busy panicking about his bat, he was quietly putting up Cy Young numbers on the mound. The man has been doing 2 jobs at once and somehow getting criticized for only being elite at one of them. Now imagine adding the bat back into that equation, because that is exactly what happened Sunday night. The pitching has already been there, the bat just woke up, and Ohtani has another pitching start lined up Tuesday against the Miami Marlins. Dave Roberts confirmed that one publicly after the Cubs game, so the Marlins get to face Ohtani right after he just hit a home run, drove in a run, stole a base, and got 3 hits in a single game. Good luck to those guys. They are going to need it. Or maybe a vacation. The Cubs being the team to suffer this game is also a beautiful little detail. Counsell spent his entire press conference earlier in the week calling the Ohtani rule bizarre and saying he never understood it. Then his team rolls into Dodger Stadium and watches Ohtani score runs against them while their own Japanese pitcher gets lit up. The baseball gods clearly have a sense of timing. Roberts probably could not stop smiling in the dugout. He had already said his calm piece during the week, defending Ohtani and basically inviting other teams to go find their own version of him. Then his team went out and proved his point with their bats and gloves. Let's talk about what this performance means in the bigger picture. The Dodgers were already cruising in the National League West before Sunday. They have championship rings on their fingers. They have one of the deepest lineups in baseball. They have starting pitching depth most teams would trade their entire farm system for. Adding a hot Shohei Ohtani back into that lineup is the equivalent of giving a sports car a turbo boost. The team did not need it, but now they have it anyway, and the rest of the league should probably be a little nervous. The doubters are going to be quiet for a while now. That always happens. People come out swinging when Ohtani has a slow week.
then disappear into the shadows when he reminds everyone he is built different. The same accounts that were posting his hitting splits with mocking captions just a few days ago will pretend they were always believers. That is just how baseball discourse works. Nobody admits they were wrong. Everybody just moves on to the next take. But the receipts are right there. Articles from outlets like Yahoo Sports were reporting just last week that Ohtani was on pace for his worst OPS since 2020. That was the takeaway being repeated everywhere. Now, after one 3-hit game with a homer and a steal, the entire conversation flips. Welcome to baseball, where one swing can erase a month of negative headlines and make everyone forget they ever doubted you. Roberts has been steady through all of this, which is why he is one of the best managers in the sport. While everyone else was panicking, Roberts kept saying Ohtani was getting closer. He kept writing his name into the lineup. He kept giving him every opportunity to find his rhythm. And on Sunday night, that patience paid off in front of a packed Dodger Stadium crowd. Sometimes the best thing a manager can do is just trust the player and shut out the noise. Roberts has mastered that skill.
Ohtani's quote after the game was so on brand. He said he had been feeling a little better since around the day before and just wants to keep getting better. No celebration, no told you so energy, no subtweet at the haters. Just a guy who knows what he is doing and trusts his process. Some guys would have walked into that post-game interview and made it about themselves. Ohtani made it about the work. That is why he keeps winning. The Dodgers' offense as a whole also showed up Sunday, which made the win look even more brutal for Chicago. The team scored 6 runs and held the Cubs to 0. That is what you call a complete beatdown. Pitching, defense, hitting, all of it clicked at the same time. When the Dodgers play that kind of game, very few teams in baseball can keep up with them. The Cubs definitely could not. It is also worth pointing out that this was the same Dodgers team that had been getting shut out by the Giants just a few days earlier. The same team that watched Ohtani's on-base streak end at 53 games short of Duke Snider's franchise record of 58. The same team that some baseball writers were starting to question because they were not playing up to their championship standard. One Sunday game flipped that narrative completely. Such is the power of one big offensive night from your superstar. The next test is Tuesday against the Marlins. Ohtani is going to be on the mound, and he is going to be hitting. He is going to be running on momentum from his 3-hit Sunday performance. The Marlins are not exactly known for their elite pitching, and they are going up against a guy who has only allowed 1 earned run all season long. The over-under on whether Ohtani hits another homer in this game is going to be very interesting. The smart money says yes. The very smart money says it is going to be a long night for Miami. The Cy Young chase is also officially back in the conversation now. Ohtani has personally said winning a Cy Young is one of his career goals. He has won every other major award in baseball. He has multiple MVPs. He has multiple championships. The Cy Young is the missing piece. With a 0.38 ERA through 4 starts and a hot bat backing him up, this is genuinely shaping up to be one of those magical seasons people talk about for the next 20 years. The Babe Ruth comparison stopped being meaningful a long time ago. Ohtani has lapped Ruth at this point. The fans inside Dodger Stadium for Sunday's game got to witness a vintage Ohtani moment. The stadium was loud. The crowd was into every pitch. The atmosphere was the kind that only Los Angeles produces when their guy is doing something special. Those are the games people brag about being at 20 years from now. The 7th inning home run is going to live in highlight reels for a long time, especially because of the context surrounding it. The drought ended. The doubts went away. The momentum returned. All in one swing. Cubs fans, on the other hand, are going to remember this game for very different reasons. Their manager had just spent the week complaining about how the Ohtani rule is unfair. And then their roster watched the Dodgers superstar shred their starter in a 6-0 loss.
That is the kind of weekend that makes you want to stay off social media for a few days. The roasting from Dodgers fans has been merciless, and rightfully so. You do not poke the bear when the bear is Shohei Ohtani. So where does this leave us heading into the rest of the week? The Dodgers are rolling. Ohtani's bat looks alive. His pitching is historic. The team is winning series. The lineup around him is producing. And the rivals who tried to make this season about manufactured controversies and roster rule complaints are getting buried by actual baseball results. That is the kind of week that makes the Dodgers and their fans very happy. It is also the kind of week that puts the rest of the league on notice. If Ohtani is just now finding his swing, then everyone else has a serious problem on their hands. The numbers are going to keep climbing. The home runs are going to start piling up again. The hits are going to come in bunches. Sunday was the wake-up call. The rest of the season is going to be the show. The doubters got humbled, the Cubs got swept aside, and Ohtani is officially heating up just in time for the Marlins on Tuesday. Drop a comment below telling me how many home runs you think Ohtani finishes the season with, smash that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, and subscribe for daily Ohtani coverage all season long.